The initial details that Caden texted to his family were proven to be false, completely made up.
17-year-old Caden Speight is at the center of a firestorm in Central Florida. His disappearance on Thursday, September 25th, it sparked not only a frantic search by law enforcement and the community, but also an Amber Alert. But now, the Marion County Sheriff says it was all a hoax, and they're still trying to get answers about exactly what happened here. We're going to take a closer look at what officials say they've learned in the last few days, how Speight's family is responding, some of the theories swirling around this case, and will he face charges? We're going to break it all down with a retired NYPD detective. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A mother's desperate plea posted to Facebook last week kicked off a community search for her son, 17-year-old Caden Speight. In her post, Annie Speight wrote, "I got a message that I need help. 4 Hispanics in a white van, 1 driver, I'm shot. Looks like the track's headed towards Deininger. Nothing found with helicopters or dogs. I was told police are looking in ditches and river in case they dropped him off somewhere along the way. Please help find him." Now soon, an Amber Alert was sent out. And deputies in Marion County, they mobilized helicopters, canine units, patrol teams. The statewide announcement read, a Florida Amber Alert has been issued for Caden Speight, a white male, 17 years old, 6 feet tall, 150 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, last seen in the area of the 12,800 block of Southwest Highway 484 in Deininger. He may be in the company of 4 unknown males, possibly Hispanic, traveling in a light-colored van. If located, do not approach. Call 911 immediately. So really, really dire situation, scary situation, okay? Between his mother's post and the Amber Alert, the story exploded on social media. Photos of Caden Speight, they spread like wildfire. We covered it right here on Sidebar. Thousands of people invested in getting him home safely. But then something strange happened. Things started to take a turn on Friday when the sheriff's office released new information that Speight had been seen at a Walmart in Ocala, Florida, around 40 minutes away from Deininger. Surveillance photos from the Walmart store, according to Marion County deputies, showed Caden Speight buying a bicycle and a tent just before he was allegedly kidnapped. A local witness, Jackson McClure, even told WESH2, "I passed by here around 4 o'clock and there was a boy getting something out of the truck and shoving it into a book bag. And then about 10-15 minutes later, I believe he drove by my house on a bicycle. He looked normal and he wasn't struggling to ride his bicycle." So while deputies no longer believed that Speight had been violently kidnapped, right, he was still missing. He was still considered endangered. But on Friday, deputies announced, quote, Caden has been located safe in Williston. This investigation is still ongoing. More updates will be provided as they become available. Now, his mom, Annie, updated everyone on Facebook saying, "They found him. Praise the Lord. Thank you so much for all the love and support. He is in surgery. We are so blessed that he is with us. We have gotten so many people that have reached out to us, and our apologies for not getting back to you all. These last 2 days have been just awful." I will tell you, this is a very demanding life of a reporter and host, and I need fuel to keep my energy up throughout the day as we do all these different sidebars. But a lot of supplements and bars that are meant for on-the-go snacking, they're a mess. They got misleading labels. They have really complicated ingredients. That is why I love what our sponsor, Equip, is doing. With clean nutrition in mind, they are all about real food first. Transparent sourcing, third-party testing. There's no toxins or fillers sneaking in. Their Prime Bar isn't just another protein bar. No, it's a grass-fed beef superfood bar that tastes just like dessert, except there's no junky syrups and seed oils. Equip is built with real functional ingredients like 20 grams of pasture-raised protein, dates, and honey for natural sweetness. You can keep a box on hand when you need that sweet fix. So you can go to equipfoods.com/sidebar. You guys are going to love how clean and delicious these bars are. They're going to be a household staple for you and your family. And by the way, right now, Equip is giving my audience an incredible offer. You can hit the link right here. You go directly to equipfoods.com/sidebar, either or, and you use my promo code Sidebar, you'll get 20% off of your first order or 35% off of your first subscription. So thank you to Equip for making the best bar on the market and partnering with us. And so now, after several more days of investigation, Marion County Sheriff Billy Wood says even if the gunshot was real, Speight faked the kidnapping.
I know many of you have been deeply invested into this case of Caden Speight. When you heard the initial alarming information that was being given to us, many of you even joined in to help in any way you could. And I want to commend my deputies and detectives that sprang into action and worked through the night and into the next day on this. In addition, we also had help from around the state and federal agencies. Many people reached out. Now, because of their hard work, the initial details that Caden texted to his family were proven to be false, completely made up. We did find evidence of a single gunshot where Caden left his truck. However, his claims that he had been shot and abducted were quickly disproven. We then learned that he had purchased a bicycle, tent, and camping supplies just prior to him reporting this. Now, I want to make something abundantly clear. Probably many of you are asking, well, why do you diverted so many resources? The truth is, in all cases, we cannot take anything that's done or said lightly. We have to take it as though it was the truth in the beginning. Because heaven forbid, if something just made one little turn and it turned out to be the truth. So, because of this alarming amount of red flags that initially kept going up, we had to continue the investigation. But here's the thing. We had witnesses that contradicted the initial information. Caden simply rode away towards Williston, while the rest of us were left to think the worst, and my team was working in an overdrive to solve this case. Now, to continue the ruse, Caden, who had a handgun with him since the beginning of all of this, chose to shoot himself in the leg, causing a non-life-threatening injury just prior to walking out to the roadway where he would be located by citizens in Williston. There is zero chance that Caden's gunshot wound came from any type of an assailant. Now, many of you have asked, will Caden be facing any charges? What about the taxpayers' cost of this large-scale investigation and search? Trust me, it is on my mind. I can tell you those items are not off the table at this point. Right now, we are still processing all of the evidence in this case. I don't want to make any statements on that until we have fully examined it all. Naturally, my detectives had a lot of questions for Caden. However, his parents refused to allow my detectives to speak with him so that we could come to a true final conclusion in all this. Again, thank you, citizens, for your tips and information that you sent in. And when we do have any updated information on this case, I promise you, we will provide it to you.
All right, clearly a lot to break down here. So I want to talk about all of this very bizarre case. I want to welcome back onto Sidebar retired NYPD detective and co-host of the Gold Shield Show, Tom Smith, who last time I saw him gave me this really, really cool pin. Look at this thing. You guys sell this, by the way? It's awesome. It's really, it's heavy. I love it. It's great. Do you sell this?
Yes, we do, on our website.
Okay, great. I encourage everybody to get it. There you go. I love it. Thank you. Okay. Tom, this is a really weird one. So apparently you have this teenager who made up a whole story about being shot, violently abducted, held hostage. He's back home safe and sound with his parents. We'll get into like possible charges, outcome of all that. What is your reaction to this?
It's, as a law enforcement officer of 30 years, it's infuriating because I know exactly the resources that went into this and the mindset of every detective and every cop that was out there looking for him. Think about it, Jess. You have all the worst crimes on a checklist. Kidnapping, someone with a gun, a young boy taken, abducted, taken from the scene, possibly shot. You have all the worst crimes in one category going after and out on the street looking for him. So everyone is so raised up and wanting to get this done. It is an all-out effort, all hands on deck when it comes to something like this. So the infuriation that this was made up is resonating, I am sure, throughout that entire department.
Yeah, because there was a race to make sure he was safe, that he wasn't abducted, and to see that this was like a hoax, or allegedly a hoax, is just, It's crazy. I mean, have you ever dealt with something like this before we move any further on this? I mean, have you seen, obviously I'm sure there's false reporting, false crimes, but something like this, have you ever seen anything?
Not to this extent. We've had, individuals who have run away and then made up stories because they didn't want to get in trouble with running away. That has happened. But to this extent of, the story and the kidnapping and descriptions and all that. And, remember back when I was on patrol, we didn't have an Amber Alert. So that gets amplified even more these days with more and more people being notified and on the lookout for this person.
So let's break down some of the things that Sheriff Woods had to say in that video update and how the public is reacting. First up, according to Sheriff Woods, Speight shot himself in the leg, okay, ending up with a non-life-threatening injury. A Facebook user commented on the update asking, how do you walk and ride your bike to Williston with a gunshot to the leg? I mean, that's an interesting question. When did the gunshot happen? I mean, Tom, that's fair.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure this young boy is not a doctor, so he's taking an awful chance shooting himself in the leg where anything can happen. It could ricochet off his bone, get caught in an artery, anything like that. So that obviously is not the smartest move in the world. And then, it depends on where he shot him. I'm not aware of where exactly on the leg he inflicted this wound, but, to the extent of thinking of that is just absurd.
By the way, there's another commenter who speculated something else, that maybe Caden Speight had been messing around with a gun, went off accidentally, hit his leg, panicked, made up a story so he wouldn't get in trouble. Things escalated very quickly when his family notified law enforcement. The word spread on social media. It still would be strange about what he was allegedly or seemingly purchasing, at that Walmart, but possibility?
Oh, sure. That's actually a possibility. And that's part of, when the sheriff mentions the investigation continuing, some people will look at it and go, why? You have them, everything's done. And it's farthest from the truth. Where's the gun? Where'd he get it? Whose is it? All of that is going to be part of this investigation. And then into, like you just said, Jess, in that one comment of when that wound was inflicted.
By the way, this is a really good example of the impact that the internet and social media can have on rapidly developing cases. I mean, this was a situation where as soon as he went missing, and yes, there were kind of strange details that came out, but it was a story that quickly got picked up. And is that something police value? You have the public invested in this, providing tips, providing information. How much of a help is it? And could it interfere in an investigation in a way?
Oh, I think these days it is a tremendous help. And the more law enforcement uses it, the beneficial it is. I've said it on your show numerous times, Jesse, the police can't be everywhere, but the public can be. And that's what police use today with getting information out so quickly, especially photos, because someone's going to see this young man, and that's exactly what happened. The usage of social media and photos and getting it out to the mass amount of people it can in an instant is invaluable when it comes to, cases in law enforcement these days.
The sheriff talked about red flags that popped up in this investigation I mentioned before with why it was getting so much attention on social media, or maybe one of the reasons. This is a situation where they're first alerted that this person's missing, the mother is panicked. How do investigators start looking, well, is this actually what it seems to be when they talk about red flags? They don't have tunnel vision automatically thinking it's a kidnapping. I guess that's the question. How do they assess red flags in a case like this?
Well, it's a number of things. It's finding the car, going through that car, looking for any evidence of an abduction or anything like that. And then it's an interview of the mother, and looking at her phone and maybe possibly pinging his phone to get a location of where he is. And I think all of that took place very quickly because of the circumstances that police were led to believe was going on. So all of that gets done very quickly. And you know what? Seasoned investigators and detectives, can look at a crime scene or look at some information pretty quickly and start to determine whether this is legit or, they need to investigate it a little more and lower the temperature a little bit. So I think all of that just took place very quickly when it came to this.
According to the sheriff, the fact that Speight's parents seemingly refused to let investigators speak with this teen, their son, That has ignited a lot of problems online, a lot of criticism. You had one Facebook user who commented, "Interesting that the parents aren't allowing the sheriff's department to speak to their son. Caden was clearly seeking attention and running from something. There absolutely should be consequences for his actions once the investigation has been completed. Marion County Sheriff's Office, you all did a fantastic job right from the beginning." Another user said, "If they refuse to let you speak with them, then charge them for the thousands and thousands of dollars that we just spent on his butt. That is insane." Tom, if this is true and they don't want investigators speaking with their son, what does that tell you?
He is an adult. He is 17 years old. In the eyes of the law, he is an adult. So they don't have full power over him. That would be his decision with not talking to investigators. But, it's a two-pronged thing, Jess. You look at them, let's just say he has a troubled past and this is a problem. And it's just two parents protecting their child. I get that. And I think everyone would get that. But the bigger investigation has to be done of who was aware of this. Was anyone else involved? Was this more of a scam than just an attention getter? So all of that, like the sheriff stated, these are things that are going to be in interviews, in digital investigations. Where did he text? Who did he text? What other messages were on mom's phone and his phone with anyone else they were in communication with? So there's still a lot to look into when it comes to this.
Before we get into potential charges that he could face, anything the parents could face by seemingly refusing to let investigators speak here?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, could you get an obstruction charge, against them? I think that would be a big stretch, but this determines what else is out there. And that's what I mean. I think that's why there's not a lot of talk of the charges yet, because there's still a lot to look through when it comes to the digital, investigation they're going to do on everyone's phone, emails, all that stuff. So the charges, are on hold until this is fully vetted out and see who's responsible for what and who knew what.
Let's talk about potential charges against Caden Speight, okay? You're talking about waste of resources. You're not talking necessarily him calling 911 and making a false report per se. He messaged his mom, but I'm wondering, could you have an obstruction charge? Could you have a disorderly conduct charge? I look at past cases as I was thinking about this. Whether it be a misdemeanor or a felony would be an interesting question, but this is a problem. If you talk about helicopters and drones and resources that could have been dedicated to real crimes when this is going on, taking these allegations as true. A, do you think he should be charged? And B, what do you think those charges could look like?
Well, I think he should be charged because, like I said, I've been there. And what the pace is like and everyone's attitude with dropping everything they're doing. And like you said, dedicating the resources that are needed in, like I stated in the beginning of this, Jess, a kidnapping, someone with a gun, an abduction, all of that is a high priority alert to every law enforcement officer out there. So a lot of things get put on the shelf and everyone goes to this. So the dedicated resources are enormous with this. He could face filing a false report, obstruction, reckless endangerment with firing that weapon. You don't know who else would be around that could get hit by that round if it goes through him and hits somebody else. So reckless endangerment, possession of a weapon, all of those are absolute legit charges that he could be facing.
That's a good point. That's a good point. By the way, one more thing I'll mention here about this, that the family members who had pleaded for help in finding Caden, they have gone quiet. A woman named Bailey Speight Clark, who said she was Speight's sister, wrote on Facebook, "God, I just want him home. I can't sleep, eat, or do anything not knowing where he is and if he is safe. Please don't stop searching or looking. There's still little to no information on what happened or where he could be. I don't understand why this happened. Just bring him home." But it appears that post has since been deleted from her page, and she's changed her name on Facebook to remove the surname Speight, okay? That's what it looks like to us. So Tom, another facet of this age of social media is online sleuthing. People are able to dig into the online lives of people who are close to a suspect or close to a victim. Talk to me about the kind of impact that has on loved ones who may not even be directly involved. Like, you have a family member who just was concerned and is now caught up in all of this.
Oh, 100%. And that's the selfish act of this, if that's what it leads to be. Think about, just put yourself in those parents and that sister's mind that, you get a text message that your brother or son has been shot and taken. I mean, that is beyond belief of what your emotions are going to go through. And understandable with the way social media is today and removing that post and changing the name and all that, because once it gets figured out that it was not real and a hoax, you can imagine the backlash she's going to get on social media from people. And she may have nothing to do with this. And she's still going to get blasted on social media, and she doesn't want to deal with that. So that I can understand 100%.
And one of the most alarming things about this is this message that he sent his mom. And you had one Facebook user who pointed out that even if this entire thing was a hoax, there was no reason for Caden Speight to implicate people of a different ethnicity in his lies. They wrote, in part, he tried to make it about race when it came to his fake abduction. He's Jussie Smollett of Marion County, nothing but a liar. He positively should be charged and made to pay back all the money it took to look for him. He's almost a grown man at 17, not a little child, to be acting so stupid. Tom, that was interesting to call him the Jussie Smollett of Marion County, Florida. I mean, I will tell you, as I was researching this and I was thinking about potential charges, I did look up the Jussie Smollett case, right? Disorderly conduct. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, 100%. You look at the two cases and they're very similar, other than, inflicting a gunshot wound. But what the resources were, the climate at the time, the description of perpetrators that did this crime, all of it is very similar. And there could be a restitution charge as well, with the amount of money and overtime and resources that were allotted from law enforcement that his parents or him are going to have to pay. That's certainly going to be on the table.
By the way, if he's charged, do you think that would be something that's dealt with in juvenile court?
No, he's an adult. He's 17 years old. It's going to be a criminal court case.
Well, this is quite a development. We jumped on it immediately when it was going on, particularly because we started seeing some weird stuff that was happening. We'll see. We'll see if he gets charged. And I encourage everybody, Gold Shields, not only buy this, but also check out the show as well. It's great. Tom Smith, thank you so much for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Jesse. Thank you so much.
And that is all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll see you next time.